All right. So I was scared to charge higher prices until this happened. I was nervous, afraid that I couldn't charge more. And that's because I didn't specifically have the confidence within myself to know that I had the value people actually wanted within my audience. So right now, if you feel like you've been, overworking, you feel like you've been giving too many things away free, you feel like you've been undercharging, and you haven't really adopted the identity of feeling confident or comfortable charging more, this specific training is for you. So there's three big things that we're going to focus on, because once I discovered this allowed me to be able to attract over 588 coaching clients, be able to have the confidence to create and launch 15 online digital courses, help thousands of people for free, do over 100 live events per year, and continue to help people all over the country and all over the world. And that's because I felt more confident in myself to be able to charge these type of prices. So that is what we focus on today. So there's three big ideas we're going to cover. Number one, how I stopped undervaluing myself and attract better clients. So if you're the type of person that's been like, man, I'm not attracting the right type of clients, they're not paying my prices, pay close attention. How I learned to value my work without needing external validation. Most people feel like they need other people to validate them. Most people to wave the magic wand and say, you can now charge more. You can now charge for your services. But that is not true. We're going to talk about that. And then three, how I'll find paying clients within the same audience. A lot of times people think that my audience doesn't have money. My audience is broke. Nobody from my audience is willing to pay. Is that true? Well, let's find out. Let's see if that's really true. So those are the three big ideas. So let's dive right into this. When I first really started trying to get comfortable charging more was even before I got into specifically working with coaches and speakers. So I changed niches a few different times, but one of the niches I did right before I came into this one was I was working with entrepreneurs and business owners. And up until that point, I've never had like a big business making, hundreds of thousands of dollars per year, making $1 million plus per year. It wasn't like I got all of these big results for all of these companies and businesses. For me to say that I can help business owners. So what would even give me the ability to think that I can do that? I just read a lot of books. I learned a lot. I was one of the ones that was like, man, I really love learning about business. I was figuring out all of these marketing strategies and tactics, and then I got out here and I just started helping people for free. And that was the initial thing that gave me the ability and the confidence to say that I can help more people. So I was just giving it away for free, which a lot of us do when we first start. It's likely that when you decided that you wanted to do this months ago, years ago, 5+ years ago, 10+ years ago, that you came out of the gate immediately charging, unless you've already had some experience in what you do. But most of us haven't came out the gate doing that. We came out helping people, right? Does that sound about right? You giving advice to people for free. You giving training people for free. You giving people saying, let me pick your brain, or asking you questions, or calling you up on the phone, or messaging you online, or text messaging you. These are the things that we end up having to do when we first start. So I started the same way. But here's how I got the confidence and the ability to start charging and then start charging more over the years. Number one, I listened to the feedback. So before I even started working with entrepreneurs and coaches, I said, all right, look, let me start working with different types of, I was just working with different types of people because I was like, this is before I knew about niching like that. So I'm working with seafood restaurant owners. I'm working with authors. I'm working with, I remember I was working with a lady that sold soap, and it was this one particular lady. She was a daycare owner. So this is just me learning, researching, and just saying, hey, you know what, I can help you, but I didn't charge her for it. So, because she came to me, she was saying, hey, my daycare is struggling right now, and I'm thinking we're going to have to close our doors. So I'm asking her questions, and she's like, yeah, because the parents aren't bringing their kids here, and, and then, my employees are not really motivated because she had other people, watching the kids and things of that nature. So I started learning recently around the time I was learning about what they call lifetime value. which is basically how much you get paid from a particular person that stays with you. And the longer they stay with you, the longer the lifetime value is, because that's the more money they're spending with you, right? It's like retaining a customer for a long time. So I started asking her about that, and I said, well, okay, well, how do you feel about paying your employees more, maybe like a commission on top of what they get paid? She said, oh my God, I can't do that. I'm gonna go out of business faster than I'm already going out of business. And I said, really? I said, think about it. I said, there's a concept that's called lifetime value. I said, how long does a parent stay with you when they come in? She said, oh, they stay with me a long time. Like I have really good service. I said, okay. I said, so how long is that about? And she said about 2 years. So I forgot specifically what she charged. I think it was like $180 a week or something like that. But it came out somewhere between $7,000 and $18,000 for one customer. One customer, about between $7,000 and $18,000, right? So let's just say $17,000 for one. I said, okay. I said, so that's the lifetime value. I said, now what if you gave for every new person that your audience, that your employees referred, you gave them the first week off top, because you know you're gonna make $17,000 on the back end. I said, give them the $180 the first week, because they're going to be more motivated. I said, what if they got 2-3 people? What if they really wanted to make more this week for whatever reason? Now you're giving them an incentive to bring in an extra 2, 3, 4, 5 people a week. Yeah, you lose the first week of sales, but you're making close to $17,000 on the back end. So it's a no-brainer. So she was kind of thinking about it. She said, okay, yeah, that makes sense. I said, so here's what the next steps are. Go speak to your employees. Let them know that, you starting this new incentive where if they refer and find parents to bring to the daycare, that they're going to be able to get an extra $180 on top of their check. So she went in and she started doing it. Guess what? She came back to me and said, oh my God, Terrell, it worked. She said, we've been able to, get 2-3 times more to clients. And, and I went from getting ready to shut down one location to getting ready to open up a second location. Look at that. And so when you start to get stories like that, that's when you know, okay, I got something here. It's hard to have low confidence when you know what you're doing actually is helping people. That's how you really know. So now, the confidence, right? The confidence is getting up. So let's fast forward. So I'm at a point now where I'm running ads, because I wasn't even running ads at that point. I was going to networking events and doing all that. So now I'm like, okay, I'm going to start attracting clients, using ads. And this is when I realized that I have the ability to start attracting better type of clients, within our coaching niche. So I hired an ads agency, because I didn't know how to run ads. I didn't know how to do Facebook and Instagram and none of that. I hired somebody to do it. Hired an agency. That's how I started learning. And we started running these ads. And I remember one of the first ads I ran was like, "Are you broke, busted, and disgusted? Do you not have 2 pennies to rub to your name? Is there too much month at the end of the money?" And I was getting it in. I'm like, yo, they gonna love this, right? Like I'm getting all of the coaches that need the help. They struggling. They really want to make the money. They really ambitious to make this happen. And I ran it. And the leads started to come in. I'm like, yes, this is working. And then I got on the phone. And guess some of the excuses they said. I'm just broke, busted, and disgusted. I realized there's really not that much month at the end of the money, right? I really don't have 2 pennies to rub to my name. And I'm like, man, why does this sound familiar? And it sounded familiar because that is how I was running my marketing. That's why it sounded familiar. So the messaging that I was putting out into the world was what I was attracting back. So I had the confidence that I can help people, but then now I had to make sure that I put out the right messaging to attract the right type of people. And that's when I started realizing, oh, it's not just about, knowing how to help people in what you do. It's knowing about how to communicate the right messaging so you attract and bring in the right people. So you're not speaking to a bunch of people that are just tire kickers, or they're just kind of looking around, or just not serious. Your goal is to attract the most serious people as part of your audience. And that is going to happen through how well you're able to communicate to them. and kind of pull them in or attract them in. Does that make sense? So that's really key about how I really started to value my services and start attract the right people. Now, how do you get to a point where you're like, okay, like I want to really value myself even more. I really want to start charging more for my services. How do you really understand that? Number 2 is I want you to start measuring the ROI. Measuring the ROI. When you work with somebody, and you don't have to be in a specific money-making niche to do this, but it's great if you can attach it to money because people are able to justify it financially. But measuring the ROI is this. Like, I know if I get somebody, I help somebody get 5 figures per month, we have packages right now where I'm not charging that to help clients get to that. So if I'm helping you get to that and you're not currently at that and I'm charging you less than what the value you're actually getting, it's easy for me to justify that, and it makes it easier in the minds of the people that I'm helping, my potential clients, say, oh, yeah, I'm willing to pay X amount of dollars to get 5 times the value, 10 times the value. It becomes a no-brainer where you can measure it against ROI. And it doesn't have to be a money-making kind of business or industry, right? If you're into fitness or weight loss, and you could tie that into how it's going to impact their family, how it's going to impact their finances, how they're going to have more energy to run the business, how they're going to have, more time, how they're going to be able to think clearer to make better decisions. If you can tie that to money, or you can tie that to get them a promotion, or if you can tie them having a better relationship into their partner being able to support them in the business, or them having better relationships for them to be able to make more money at their job, or you see what I'm saying, or being able to have the discipline to save the money. You have to, if you can tie it to money some type of way, that's going to be your best case scenario. But the goal is to show how what you do impacts every area of somebody's life, right? So that's going to be one of the key things. So I remember we got, so now I'm running ads for clients, and one of my early success stories with running the ads is I had a client came in. She was like, look, I ran ads before. Somebody kind of messed it up. I lost a bunch of money, but I don't want to give up on the ads. I just want to make sure I'm working with the right person. So, I knew her also from a mastermind that we were in. So there was already trust there. She saw that I've been consistent already being in this business. So I wasn't a fly by night type of guy, right? I've been doing this since 2015. And then also we just got the results, and I showed the results. I showed my results. I showed the results from, the people that I've helped. And that was it. So we got so boom. So the first week she said, I want to come out and I want to put $2,000 down. So she put $200 down her first week. First week, $200 down for the ads. Came back, she got 1 client at $2,000. She 10x'd her investment the very first week as a client. Think about how impactful that is. Think about how impactful that is, that if she continued that she would, that's what? Easily $8,000 a month. Think about what that would do over a year. Think about what that would do over the next 5-10 years if you continue to do that versus the investment that was made. And that's what makes it easier for you not to need external validation. I don't need validation from anybody else because I know I see the data. I see the results that we're getting for clients. So long as you know the results that you're getting for your clients, who do you need validation from? Right? You know that you can get the results. You're not frauding. You're not acting like it's something you're not. You're not being an imposter. You're only going to be an imposter. You're only going to feel imposter syndrome if you feel like you're trying to help somebody with something that you do not know how to do, which you should not do. If there's a skill that you do not have, then don't act like you have it, or don't act like, if you're going to be upfront with something and say, hey, I'm not really that good in this area, but I'm going to throw this in, or I'm going to help you with that, be upfront with it. We live in a day and age right now where you don't have to act in front like something that you're not. Just be good at what you know how to do. Help people with that very thing that you know how to do. And then the people who want to learn that particular skill is going to go to you. And if there's other skills that they need, you can refer them somewhere else. You'll get much more trust and credibility from that than trying to act like something you're not. So you don't want that type of reputation. So measure the ROI, and that's going to make you feel like, okay, I understand the real value that I'm bringing to my ideal clients. That's super key. And then number 3, finding paying. How I found paying clients with the same audience. So here's what's interesting. And this is even more of a newer discovery for me, to be honest with you. Really over probably like the past year or 2 is when I really started paying attention to this. So it's for a long time, like a majority of my coaching career, it was just like, yo, I'm helping coaches. Like, I'm just, I'm going to help coaches. And, if you're a coach, I got you, right? Which, we do help everybody. I got something for everybody, just in terms of, we have various levels of the different ways we can support you. But I started realizing more recently that it's much better to help my ideal audience, meaning who's like really like within my audience. There's another audience within your audience. So write this down. Find the top 10% of the most qualified clients. Find the top 10% of the most qualified clients, right? Because that's what's going to make you be able to win. You know what I'm saying? Like that what's going to allow you to win is your ability to say, okay, it's not really just everybody. Like I could help, everybody within this audience, but is everybody within this audience really, like if I had somebody who, I've had people like this, they're like, yo, they want to be coaches. So they're not coaches yet. They're broke, they're on welfare, they're on, what I'm saying? Like that, they don't really have, they've never really done this. They never really researched it. They're completely starting from scratch. They have no money, to be able to invest in anything. Nor do they really have the ambition. It was just kind of like an idea or a thought. So technically they are interested in coaching or they want to be part of the coaching industry. I could help them because the program that I have is for beginners. I have 2, basic things. I have one where we focus on, really helping coaching businesses grow and scale to 5 figures per month and showing you how to create the whole system and structure. And then for people that are more advanced, you get a higher level of coaching. And also the main thing is we have a social media advertising agency, marketing agency, where we'll run the ads, especially if you're really advanced. You're like, yo, I just need more leads to be able to close more deals because I'm already making X amount of dollars. It's just the leads are just coming too slow. And I need a company that I can trust to be able to get these leads for me so I can be able to grow and scale faster. Boom. So I got the social media marketing company for that. Right. So, but here's the thing is that when I really think about who is my most ideal clients, where I can get the fastest results for somebody, and you want people who are able to pay consistently, then those are the people that you really need to be looking at. Those are the people that you need to have. You want to be targeted with your marketing, right? So it's not necessarily everybody under the sun or the universe of your audience. It's more of, okay, who are the top 10 most qualified? So if I'm looking at the top 10 most qualified, if I had to choose, right, which I am choosing, is that, okay, instead of just focusing on the sea of everybody as coaches, if I had to choose the best type of coaches that I could get the fastest results for, that's going to make the most amount of money, and that's going to be the most consistent with continuing to invest because they understand it. There's some people in my audience, they're just not mature enough to really understand the investment that you really got to put in order to be able to grow your business, right? In order to really understand, how much time, money, energy, and opportunity that you're getting with hiring a coach, how much more multiplied is going to happen, how much more you're going to be able to grow with running ads. People are scared to spend money, spend a couple $100s a month on ads. Like, so you got an audience, and I'm willing and able to really change the perspective of people. And I've done it where they can say, okay, I can see how to do it. But if you said the best type of people that I want to help, if you're talking about my top 10%, my top 10% are people that can afford to run ads. People that, someone that ideally already has clients, because that means that you're not afraid to sell, right? Because if you're afraid to sell, then it's going to take you longer for you to make money. The longer it takes you for you to make money is just, and you're spending money, but it's taking you a long time to make money. Your enthusiasm is going to kind of get low because you don't have the skill yet. So you're going to feel discouraged, right? But it's something that we all got to go through, though. Anytime you start something or you're not really that good with something, it's going to take time for you to learn it, period. It took time for you got kids. It took time for your kids to learn how to tie their shoes. It took time for them to learn how to walk. It took time for them to learn how to eat themselves. It took time for them to learn how to read and write. It took time. It wasn't overnight, right? But if I can have somebody that's already on a level that got clients, already they can afford the ability, you know, to run ads. They can afford the ability to continue to work with us in terms of our services. They already have a package and they already have a program. And we could just teach them a couple strategies about some systems, maybe about follow-up if they need it, being able to squeeze the most juice out of the leads they get, and we're running their ads. I mean, that's really the sweet spot for of the type of people that I want to help, because they're going to get results faster, they're going to get clients faster, they're going to make money faster, which means we're going to have even better testimonies of people that's making more money, testimonies of the people that are monetizing the ads, the leads that they get faster. See, if I'm getting leads for somebody who's afraid to talk to people, afraid to pick up the phone, afraid to text, it's going to take them longer to monetize it. I can still help them, but it's going to take them longer, right? And I want to help people get results as fast as possible, right? So that's the whole idea behind finding the top 10% of the most qualified clients. Because I see people all the time have these coaches and they'll say, look, but I could help everybody. I could help this audience, this audience, this audience, and this audience. I could help them. Or this is a good one. They'll say, these are the type of people that come to me. These type of people come to me. These type of people come to me. And that's all gravy. That could be good. But that might not be the core service you want to provide. That could be all good. But that might not be the most qualified people, right? I get people who are super beginners that come to me and they'll reach out to me all the time, whether it's in our groups or wherever we at. But just because they come and reach out to me for services does not mean that is my ideal client, right? Or the most ideal client. That does not mean that is the top 10% of the client, right? So that is the idea. So there's a concept that I learned, and it's called BANT. B-A-N-T. B-A-N-T. And that's called, and this is how you want to be able to qualify someone to know if they're the most qualified client within your audience. Number one, budget. Do they have the budget to work with you? That's key. A is authority. Do they have the authority in order to make the decision to work with you? Right? Or do they have to check with a spouse? Do they have to check with a business partner or someone else? Need. Is there an actual need? Don't sell somebody something that they don't need or that you cannot clearly provide a solution for. I had a guy, he came to me, he wanted to run, he was like, yo, I want to have a 7-figure podcast. And I said, okay, that's what's up. He's like, yo, I'm ready right now. He had like card in hand, like ready. And I said, no, I appreciate you, man, for following me and, you know, you want my help. But I said, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not the best guy for that because I have not created a 7-figure podcast. I said, I started and I quit after like episode 7, right? Which is like the episode that most people quit at. But I said, I'm not the best person, the most qualified person to do that. I said, let me put you in contact with my boy, David Shanes. Hit him up, David Shanes. Yo, I got somebody for you, but boom, he's serious, but when he's ready, boom, hit him up, boom. He went over to start working with him, and that's cool, right? Because I don't need everybody. It has to be a need for what I have. If you start just helping anybody and they don't have a need, you're not going to get the testimonials. They're not going to be happy. They're not going to say good things about you. Probably going to say bad things about you. And that really doesn't help you, although you made a couple of dollars now, and they're not going to stay with you for the long term. So it's really important that you really, you're key about who you work with. I get artists and rappers and stuff that try to come and work with me all of the time. And it's just like, because I'm also kind of in that environment too, right? Because I just know people in it. And, but I know that's not really my industry. So I'm not going to, although I could do it, I'm not going to get the best results. So I'm not even going to do it. I'm not even going to set the business. So that's the idea behind it, is find the top 10% of the most qualified clients. And if you do that, you're going to win. All right. So make sure you listen to the feedback. Make sure that you measure the ROI and make sure that you find the top 10% of the most qualified clients. And if you do that, you're going to have confidence with charging. You're going to have confidence with charging more, charging those premium prices that you want, continuing to add more value so you feel more comfortable charging more premium prices. And that's how over time you're going to be able to grow the business and be able to make the type of profit that you want. All right. If this at all is interesting to you, then there's a couple key things that I want you to do. One is you could go ahead and you can actually download what we call the easy way to find people who will pay you. So if you feel comfortable with charging and you want this ebook, just go ahead and put ebook in the comments below, and then I'll make sure that I get that to you. This is our step-by-step. How do you have conversations with people on social media in a way that they feel comfortable and confident to want to work with you, so you can be able to offer them your prices, right? Because you got whatever, you can charge whatever you want, but if you don't know how to get, if you don't know how to get people to meet with you in order to really see the value that you provide, then that's going to be key. And I'm going to tell you how important that is, right? So I got this little chart here, and imagine this when it comes to pricing, right? Imagine that, because imagine you're afraid to charge more. So you charge $500, but you really could be charging $5,000. Here's the difference, how you can get more clients, but actually make less money. Even if you got 5 out of 10, let's say you got 5 out of 10 clients, like it's 5 out of 10 that say yes. At a $500, you made $2,500, right? So you got more clients. You got half the people say yes. Congratulations. But look at this. When you charge $5,000, all you would need is 1 out of 10, and you doubled your money. So it's not always about more clients. It's about when you're charging more, you'll get more people to pay higher prices, and you actually don't need as many clients, right? All you need is 1 out of 10. You mean you got 5 times more clients, but still made half as much. You see how that works? So that's the importance of knowing what to do when it comes to getting clients, and then having the confidence to charge more. So with those two things, that's why I want you to get this, because this is going to show you how to meet with more people. And then I want you to apply the lessons that we talked about today in order to have the confidence to charge more. Even if you got less clients, you'll still make more money. Slow motion is better than no motion. Let's work.